Part 28. Good man, he has a golden finger. Author, Jonghu Buletinjian. Chapter 271. The policemen all looked at each other, and then invariably looked at Wang Xiao, the deputy director of Rena Hospital, who was already extremely strange under the light. Long Liuyun suddenly thought of something. When you find cockroaches in a certain place, it proves that this place is already a cockroach nest. For example, in an industry chain as big as organ trafficking, it is absolutely impossible for only one person to support it. Let's just say that Jing Quanshui, the chief of cardiovascular surgery at Rena Hospital who they came to investigate this time, may be just a small player in this matter. Is just the smallest part of this industry chain. But when the so-called rich people outside can hear that they can exchange for what they want at Rena Hospital, then this place must have become a place specifically for those rich people to choose from, which sounds absolutely terrifying. Therefore, I am afraid that the entire Rena Hospital is no longer normal, and may be involved in these criminal methods, and what they investigated is the simplest. The policemen were already on alert, with guns pointed at Dean Wang and Wang Xiao who were standing there. Under the light, Wang Xiao still looked the same as before, but his face was very pale. Xie Tingzhou looked at him from the other side. A bookshelf came over, and the only sound left in the quiet room was his footsteps. Walking into the middle of this group of policemen, Xie Tingzhou felt that Long Liuyun was also very lucky. It was very strange to be able to come to such a ghost nest. Officer Xie, it's our first time meeting you. I didn't expect you to come. Wang Xiao saw Xie Tingzhou and said this with a smile, but Xie Tingzhou was very indifferent. Didn't you notice that I'm here a long time ago? Why are you just saying hello to me now? He asked back, and the others were no longer afraid at this time. After all, Xie Tingzhou was someone they could rely on, while Wang Xiao laughed loudly, with blood and tears flowing from his eyes. Is Officer Xie also investigating the donor matter with the police comrades today? Does Officer Xie think the above information is good? Wang Xiao asked after laughing. This question was very scary. Xie Tingzhou has already taken a few glances at the newly added information in this data room. All of them are doctors and nurses from Rena Hospital. These people who were once like fish to others and me like Daoziu have now become like fish and become a willing donor. It's not bad. They deserve it. The more you understand people, the less you will like them. The more you understand ghosts, the more you realize that no matter how vicious and terrifying these ghosts are on the surface, they were just poor people in life. Xie Tingzhou does not feel scared, but feels used to it. In memory, there is no reason for human beings to die at the hands of ghosts. All kinds of evil ghosts kill innocent people indiscriminately. But now, these evil ghosts can control themselves and just put their revenge in some areas, which is already very good. Ha 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 ha. It seems that Officer Xie understands the truth. No wonder Yangui Bodhisattva is dedicated to doing good and has become a minion of your police. Now he has really become a Bodhisattva. The ghosts all know about the story of Yangui Bodhisattva before. It is said that Yangui Bodhisattva got some elixir from Xie Tingzhou, and then his magic power increased a lot after that. He actually became Xie Tingzhou's lackey, always catching some special evil ghosts and sending them away. For Xie Tingzhou, I really don't know what kind of communication there is between this person and the ghost. Fortunately, Huachong is just a victim like you. I came here today just to check on the situation and take my friends away from here. I don't mean to disturb you. Is Cunning Boy here today? Xie Tingzhou seemed to be talking about something commonplace, causing Wang Xiao's expression to change immediately. The corners of his mouth that belonged to Wang Xiao were pulled up. Obviously he wanted to laugh, but they were cut very hard, and his mouth opened to reveal huge fangs. The whole room was filled with his voice. You actually called that adult a cunning boy? That adult is not here today, but it's hard for Officer Xie to leave empty-handed, so let's invite Officer Xie to watch a good show. Along with Wang Xiao's voice, Wang Xiao in front of him actually opened his body. It was a forced opening, and then he took out the various organs inside, and then threw them on the ground casually, and those organs also it turned into red smoke and entered the noses of all the police officers and Xie Zhou present. In a blink of an eye, the entire team led by Xie Zhou and Zhang Biao appeared on an operating table. They saw a strange man, as well as a group of nurses and doctors. On two operating tables, one was a very young man, and the other was an old man who seemed to be dying. The doctor was performing an operation. In this way, everyone was forced to see the heart taken out from the man's chest up close, and then Zhang Biao recognized it. Wasn't the recipient of the heart the corpse he saw before, Chen Yuhei? But at the moment when the heart was taken out, the man lying on the operating bed had his eyes protruding and then died. At the end, the man woke up on the operating table with his eyes open. In other words, the anesthesia had failed before, so he died when his heart was removed. Chen Yuhei, whose heart was replaced, quickly performed the operation, but the corpse whose heart was removed did not stop. All the police saw that all the organs that could be used were removed from his body. Today's technology it is very developed and can keep these organs fresh, so these things are still temporarily useful. Seeing such a cruel scene, not to mention Zhang Biao, all the other police officers looked extremely ugly. It was the first time that Long Liuyun experienced people's cruelty. To be precise, it was people's cruelty towards the same kind. After that, there were constant surgeries. They saw with their naked eyes that everything on this ordinary man named Cai Shija was given to others. This scene was quiet and scary. After everything was over, they took another look and found that the person lying on the bed had become Wang Xiao. Wang Xiao was old, but the things on his body still worked, so the police saw the operation scene. I don't know how these ghosts were arranged. Wang Xiao stayed awake while being operated on, screaming and struggling crazily, but it had no effect. He could only watch a part of his body turned into a corpse by evil ghosts. Wang Xiao took it out and put it on other people willingly, and those who accepted these donations were only ordinary people who really needed it. When all the red smoke dissipated, Zhang Biao and the policemen stood there with pale faces, feeling as soft as cotton under their feet. They already understood the situation that Rena Hospital has become. What was once fish and meat has become a knife, and the former victims are now punishing the former perpetrators. These ghosts did not take the lives of these police officers. They knew what they should do and whom they should attack. In the simple information room, everyone came to their senses again. Xie Zhou asked. Do I still need to check? Zhang Biao looked ugly, while Long Liuyun replied. There was a victim who wanted to take away the life of the person who performed the surgery and took away his organs, so we came to investigate. Unexpectedly, Ren AI Hospital has become a ghost nest. That's right, no matter how slow these people react, they have already understood that the doctors and nurses in Rena Hospital are not human from beginning to end. They are lucky to be able to survive in such an environment. Well, the boss here is called Cunning Tong, and he also has another name, which is what people call Gumantung. Xie Zhou said, glancing at the information on the bookshelves. You, the police, should know how to make this Gumantung, but this cunning child is unusual. She was deliberately calculated as a result of unlucky consequences. She died before she was even born. I am afraid that the person originally wanted to use blood to control her. This ancient man Tung didn't expect that the cunning boy killed his biological mother with ghost energy before he was born, and was born in such a place where filth and people live in evil. After devouring many ghost babies, he was out of control long ago. It treats it as its territory, plays around as it pleases, and avenges the evil ghost who died in the hospital, so you don't have to worry. This kind of Gumantung generally won't attack ordinary people. If the evil ghost kills someone, there must be a connection. He led everyone out of the information room, and then saw a female ghost wearing a pink nurse uniform standing at the door. She had wiped away her tears, but there were 2 holes in her eyes, which looked very scary. "Officer Xie, do you want the data on the USB flash drive? I can give it to you." As if to thank Xie Tingzhou, although the female ghost still made people feel scary when she spoke, Xie Tingzhou was used to it. "Then it's up to the nurse." Xie Tingzhou nodded, and then everyone followed the nurse towards another place. The nurse asked on the way, "Can I keep looking at Officer Xie?" Xie Tingzhou did not refuse, and then everyone became even more frightened, because this nurse was obviously walking in the front, but all her heads turned around, and then she stared at Xie Tingzhou with 2 empty holes. A normal person would have been frightened. But Xie Tingzhou is very used to going there. Soon the nurse arrived at a room. She took everyone in and handed Xie Tingzhou the USB flash drive containing all the donor information. "Ms. Nurse, thank you. This is a pill suitable for you to take. I give it to you as a token of my gratitude to you today." Xie Tingzhou took out the red pill and handed it to the nurse. When their fingers touched, they felt an extremely cold feeling, but Xie Tingzhou was not afraid. After that, Xie Tingzhou left Ren'ai Hospital with the frightened police officers of the Criminal Investigation Brigade. When he walked out of Ren'ai Hospital and looked back, he found that the entire Ren'ai Hospital was shrouded in black mist. This hospital has become a ghost nest. Even if the police knew about it, there would be nothing they could do. "Tingzhou, do you want to leave it here like this?" Long Liun also looked at this huge hospital and knew that the ghosts who died in the hospital were all victims, but he was still a little worried when he thought of what the other party might do. Zhang Biao and other police officers also looked at Xie Tingzhou, wanting to know what the expert had to say. "The cycle of cause and effect will end this matter within 10 years. If you insist on interfering, I am afraid that both sides will suffer in the end, with countless casualties. There are also things that the human police cannot find, maybe because they cannot check, maybe because of other reasons, but the ghost will not tell you that if it wants revenge, it really takes revenge. If anyone stops it, then the person who is hurt will be not only this blocker, but also his family will become the targets of the ghost's revenge." Thinking of this, Xie Tingzhou added, "I advise you not to act rashly. There are at least hundreds of thousands of evil spirits in the ghost nest here. They are just seeking justice for themselves. If the ghosts were released from the nest, not so many people would die." Good man, he has a golden finger. Author, Zhanghu Buletinjian. Chapter 272. 100,000 Evil Spirits. As the captain of the Criminal Investigation Brigade, Zhang Biao was shocked. After all, he just saw how big the hospital was and wondered if all the medical staff inside had become ghosts. However, he did not expect that this hospital would actually house more than 10 people. All evil spirits. Are these evil spirits all donors? If that's the case, why aren't the police aware of this? Or is there an umbrella on it? So they didn't investigate? Zhang Biao has investigated many missing cases before, including those where the body was hollowed out. The final result of such cases is often that there is no result. The surveillance just fails, or the missing person is in a place without surveillance. It is very difficult to find out the missing people. After all, there are so many people in the world, and the number of missing people every day is too large to be counted. Yes, this is the territory of Cunning Boy. She is a little ghost who will be transformed into Gumantung. She can be regarded as a ghost baby. So in this hospital, except for the kind of ghosts you encountered, most of them are ghosts. Guiying, did you see the bus stop sign over there? Xie Tingzhou nodded, and then asked everyone to look at the bus stop sign opposite the hospital. Generally speaking, in places like hospitals, the exits are either bus stops or subway stations, or banks and flower shops, all of which are full of death. But now, Everyone looked at the bus stop sign and found that the advertisement above was for Rena Hospital. The information above was nothing else but a painless surgery. As for what kind of surgery it was, of course it was an abortion. When hospitals become truly commercialized, a lot of so-called information becomes false. If a woman needs an abortion during pregnancy, you promise her that it will be painless for 3 minutes, and then she can leave directly after the abortion. What's going on? This woman is not a human being. She doesn't need to cultivate herself even after the operation, so she just leaves. Do you think you are cutting your hair? The bigger the hospital, the more it has requirements for this indicator. And because young people have begun to open up their minds, more people are performing abortions. In a large hospital like Rena Hospital, I don't know how many people come to have abortions every day. These babies who were too late to be born turned into ghost babies and lingered in this hospital. Even ghost babies from surrounding hospitals came here. Is the hundreds of thousands really a lie? Everyone immediately understood where the number of hundreds of thousands came from, because there were many people who had abortions before they were born. Unexpectedly, these children turned into evil ghost babies. Originally, there are few ways to reincarnate in this world. The ghosts who finally reincarnated should have been born peacefully, but because their parents didn't want to wait, they were aborted in their mother's womb, and in the end they could not be reincarnated as humans. Harboring hatred will naturally turn into evil spirits. If some children are lucky enough to be reincarnated into a woman twice, and the other woman doesn't want them, then they will turn into resentful spirits and follow them around. In the future, the other woman will want children. It's not possible at all times. Cause and effect is like this. In such a world of ghosts and gods, Sieting Joe can't do much. He just reminds everyone that whatever you do, you must pay the corresponding consequences. Everyone suddenly didn't know what to say. Long Liun also sighed, thinking of those couples who were crazy about having children, and then thinking about the children who were aborted in Rena Hospital. They were really pitiful. But even so, do we have to watch this place turn into a ghost nest? If the evil ghost has been lingering here, if he has thoughts of hurting others in the future, now he is seeking revenge for himself, but what about the future? In the future, is it murder? Zhang Biao still feels that order is needed everywhere. Seeing the people coming and going in this hospital, these ordinary people don't even know that the doctors and nurses who warmly received them are actually evil ghosts. If they knew, they would still come. Does this hospital treat it? How do you know they want to harm ordinary people? Look at this man. He came here to ask these evil spirits for help. Sieting Zhou directly stopped a young man in his 20s who came out of the hospital. He had a smile on his face and was not angry at being stopped. Instead, he was a little curious. "Uncle policeman, what's the matter?" He could see it. His stupid and clear eyes must have meant that the college student couldn't run away. "Seeing you coming out of the hospital so happy, is there something wrong?" When Sieting Zhou asked, the child didn't hide it and said directly, "My mother is sick. She had a chronic blood disease and needed a bone marrow transplant, but she couldn't wait for someone to donate. Today the doctor informed me that someone is willing to donate, and my mother has been saved. I'm really happy. I asked the doctor for the contact information of a kind person, but the doctor said it was confidential." When he said this, he scratched his head in embarrassment. "I always thought that even finding bone marrow that could be transplanted would be very expensive, but after the hospital learned about our situation, they specially gave us a fee reduction for the surgery. My mother's surgery is scheduled for tomorrow morning. I heard that Rena, the doctors in the hospital, work for more than 15 hours a day and are really good at saving people from fire and water. The nurse sister who takes care of my mother is also very gentle and is here almost all the time. So I am very glad that I brought my mother here. After the operation, my mother will definitely be fine." He was chattering a little, probably because he was very upset about his mother before, but now that he finally got a good result, he couldn't help but talk about it. Well, your mother will definitely get better. Xieting Zhou also nodded. His naked eyes could see through the entire hospital and see the ghosts inside. After these ghosts replaced the identities of doctors and nurses, they were also dissatisfied with the work. Besides, ghosts would not get tired at all. Even if they had been hurt before and retaliated against the humans who hurt them, they were now willing to live in peace with humans and even save more people. After the child left, Xieting Zhou turned his head and looked at Zhang Biao. Did you hear that? This is what ordinary people say. In the eyes of ordinary people, it doesn't matter whether they are human or ghost. What matters is that they can save lives. Ordinary doctors are already very tired after working 10 hours a day. Working more than 10 hours a day is beyond the limit of human work. But these ghosts can take care of these ordinary people without sleep. You say, if they really want to kill people, why do they do this? If they don't have a kind heart, will these ghosts cure diseases and save lives? This is also the reason why Xieting Zhou will not fight with the cunning boy. The cunning boy was born pitiful and died pitifully, but he knew it by nature. In Xieting Zhou's memory, there were ghost babies everywhere around the cunning boy. They did not have time to be born, so they would rely on and trust their father and mother. I don't know what happened in this life that changed the behavior of the cunning boy, but in my memory, the cunning boy was refined into a Kuomintang by his father and passed through the hands of several people. After killing those people, he gradually became stronger, which is different from now. Zhang Biao understood what Xieting Zhou meant. There are more and more ghosts in the world now. All they can do is to protect humans as much as possible. For a fierce ghost like the cunning boy that even Xieting Zhou can't deal with, it's useless for ordinary people to worry. It's better to keep their hearts in their stomachs. I think too much, Officer Xie. We will report this matter to the Special National Metaphysics Group above, and I believe they will have their own opinions. Xieting Zhou didn't say anything more, knowing that it was useless to report it. Human power is so weak, how can we fight ghosts? Afterwards, the little policeman drove a police car and sent them away from the hospital. Renai Hospital was still full of the sound of treating and saving people. In the eyes of ordinary people, this is still a place where people can get a new life. They will not hear the painful howling from the ghost babies here, nor will they hear the laughter of the ghost babies playing. After saving Long Liun and others, Xieting Zhou was sitting in the car, but he received a call from Ye Heng. Brother Xie, my mother just came back to see me. Who this mother is, of course, self-evident. Ye Heng's voice sounded very happy, and then Xieting Zhou suddenly thought of something. That's good too. You just happen to be resting at home today, so accompany her well. As he said, he heard a girl's laughter like a silver bell on the other end of the phone. Well, my mother came back today and brought a sister with her. She asked me to play with my sister. She is so cute, just like a doll. I will take her out shopping later and buy her clothes and delicious food. This is probably the common problem of all brothers to their sisters. Ye Heng's happy voice is laughing. After hearing this from his sister, Xieting Zhou suddenly understood why the cunning boy now regarded this hospital as a ghost area, but did not kill innocent people. It turned out to be because of the ghost mother Guanyin Bodhisattva. All this seemed to be a mechanism that had been set up long ago. If one step was missing, it would collapse from the beginning. The ghost mother who protected all children naturally protected even ghosts. Then you play with your sister well. There is a jar in my room with red sugar beans. Give it to your sister for me. She will like it. As he said, Ye Heng immediately agreed. He knew that Xieting Zhou's things were very expensive. After the phone hung up, Ye Heng looked at the super beautiful little sister in front of him. Wait a minute, brother will give you sugar beans. Brother Xie asked me to give it to you. He went to Xieting Zhou's room and found the red sugar beans. Seeing that there were more than a dozen in it, he took a few at random. He didn't like to eat these, so he gave them all to his sister brought by his mother. "Sister, eat this. Brother says candy must be delicious." The little girl, whom he called sister, saw the red balls in Yehung's hand, reached out to take them, and then put them into her mouth one by one, revealing a satisfied expression. "Well, brother says candy is really delicious. Brother, let's go out and play later. I want to go to the amusement park." How could Yehung not be willing? He liked this sister brought back by his mother so much that he immediately said he would go. Xieting Zhou returned to the police station. Thinking that the evil ghosts under the Ghost King in his previous life had changed their minds, he just didn't know where the Ghost King was. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Good man, he has a golden finger. Author, Zhanghu Buletinjian. Chapter 273. Xieting Zhou did not meet the cunning boy in the end, but he could hear news about this sister from Yehung every month, such as how smart this sister was, how beautiful this sister was, etc. Even before, Yehung had the monthly salary was saved, but now it is spent on this sister. 2 or 3 skirts and a few shoes are indispensable every month, let alone Yehung taking her out to play. Everyone can see that Yehung really likes the sister. Regarding this sister, Xieting Zhou never told her identity, and Yehung never asked. He just liked the sister brought by his mother. Mothers are everywhere in this world. With such a sister, he is very fond of her. It might not be a good thing for Yehung. The incident at Rena Hospital was quickly reported. Lu Yunjia came personally and learned about the composition of these ghosts. Later, Xieting Zhou did not intervene in this matter, but he only heard from Long Liuyun that many people died there in the following period. Most of them were people who spent money to buy other people's things. These people said, "I don't know where the donors came from," but didn't they know in their hearts? Regarding the death of these accomplices, the police were initially frightened and later became accustomed to it. The ghosts under the hands of the cunning boy seemed to understand the boundaries to be drawn with the police. Every time they killed someone, they would clearly state the person's crime in advance, and even include direct evidence of the crime. They were sent to the police station. If they were caught and sentenced, they would be sentenced to death, so these ghosts killed people, and the people in the criminal police brigade couldn't control them. People will not ask the police to take care of it. After all, compared with humans and ghosts, everyone still knows which one is more powerful. Besides, everyone knows that if you don't do something wrong, you won't be afraid of ghosts knocking on the door. If a ghost comes to you, it must be because your family has done something wrong, so don't be afraid of revenge. People from the National Metaphysics Group went to Ren'ai Hospital in person and seemed to have reached an agreement with the ghosts of Ren'ai Hospital. They heard some rumors afterwards, but none of them involved ordinary people. Even the medical services at Ren'ai Hospital were good, and some were dispatched from above. The ghosts went to watch together, but they were not afraid of anything going wrong. With the existence of these ghosts, some things that were originally kept in the dark in this society have been directly brought to the light. For example, the anti-pornography group is now gone and has become a new women's help group. Since I learned about pornographic ghosts killing people, there are very few people who can do this kind of thing, and no one dares to gamble with his own life. Then there are some cases about donor donation across the country. In the past, these cases were 100% unbreakable, but now they are much simpler and easier. In every big city in the country, there are new Rena hospitals emerging, and ordinary people cannot knowing that all the people inside were ghosts. They all praised Rena Hospital as the best hospital in the country. Everyone enshrines Guanyin Bodhisattva in their homes. Even children know that they are in trouble and beg Guanyin Bodhisattva for help. The most popular thing in recent years is the statue of the god, from big to small. From the offerings to the pictures and small ornaments printed on the children, it can be said that they have really changed. 10 years have passed by, and today society has completely changed into a completely different look. People have long been accustomed to the existence of ghosts, because they know that the soul of an elderly person usually dissipates 7 to 10 days after death, and people do not feel too painful. And some young people who died young and children who were tortured by illness returned to them in new ways after their death. Within 10 years, the country came up with a new identity document, which was made of a special spell and served as an amulet to protect every citizen from being possessed by ghosts. The other thing is ghosts. If a young person or child dies in your home, you can apply to the police station to find their souls with a requiem. After confirming that the ghost is willing to stay in their home, you can use the requiem. After dripping the blood, only the bleeding man can see ghosts, which solves many family problems. Not only that, the country has even opened up places where ghosts can work. How to say it? Some ghosts are dead and have nothing to do, but some people are still worried even if they are dead. Some of them are young and old, and they are worried that there will be no one to take care of their children, and they are worried that their children will not be able to do anything. When I grow up, I go to the police station to apply to work in a factory. Most of the ghost factories make drugs that were previously developed by the country or materials that are harmful to the human body. If ghosts happen to do it, it won't hurt them. Oh, there's one more important thing. Just 8 years ago, a real ghost craze broke out all over the world. It first happened abroad. All kinds of horrible things happened abroad. There were countless ghosts killing people and eating people, even at night. All countries are not peaceful at night, and human weapons are useless against ghosts. In particular, thermal weapons, which symbolize war, have no effect on ghosts at all. So in the next 2 years, there was a lot of trouble abroad, and they even applied for help at home. Now, there are only 4 countries left in the world. The former countries of stealing and small countries have even become in the evil ghost's habitat. There is no trace of human beings. At that time, the news was full of news about evil spirits, which made the Chinese people very scared. It was at this time that the country took out a real weapon for the first time, the ghost core. When the video shot by a camera specially processed by Xietingzhou was sent back, people shed tears when they saw the soldiers who had turned into ghosts still trying to protect them, but they no longer had so much fear. Since that year, the Martyrs' Cemetery has become everyone's favorite place to go, and every time they bring various bouquets of flowers and fruits for their dearest people. A few years later, national policies kept changing, and everyone was used to ghosts. Who wouldn't die if something happened? So if someone in the family dies young, they go back to the police station to apply for a ghost ID card. After using the Requiem talisman, the person dripping blood on it can see the existence of the ghost. After 10 years of evolution, this Requiem talisman even has the function of controlling ghosts, so these ordinary ghosts can stay at home and not harm anyone. Xietingzhou is now the chief of Yangzhou Avenue Police Station. After Yeheng graduated, he came to the police station and became the captain, that is, the captain of the metaphysics team. Now every police station has re-established a metaphysics team to deal with ghosts. In the past 10 years, strange human cases have rarely occurred in our business. In addition, knowing that people will turn into ghosts to seek revenge after death, it has become much more stable. Nowadays, in the whole world, only the country is the most peaceful, and the outside is already full of evil spirits. Brother Xie, Sister Long said we would have hot pot at home tonight, and Uncle Mao is coming too. Yeheng is already an adult. Yeheng, who is 28 years old this year, is not married and is completely single. However, in the hearts of all his colleagues, Yeheng is a girl lover. Whenever he is on holiday, he always spends time with his sister. Looking for someone in vain? Yeah, okay. Xietingzhou nodded, finished handling the matters at hand, and after sorting out the information, he packed up his things and walked outside with Yehung. He is now the chief here. It has been 10 years. Guo Ran has also been promoted. He is the chief of another place, and there is Long Liun, who is also the captain of the criminal police brigade. He could have been promoted further, but Long Liun likes to be a detective, so everyone is doing well now. When Xieting Zhou took Yehung home, as soon as they reached the door opened automatically. Thank you, brother. The person who opened the door was not a human, but the ghost Yu Xiao. Although Yu Xiao was not officially promoted, she got rich. Yu Xiao has been on Yangzhou Avenue for the past 10 years, occasionally going out to do field work. Later, her two younger sisters grew up and came over to thank Xieting Zhou. Although they did not recognize Yu Xiao, these two sisters are sincerely grateful to Xiao. Later, after the policy changed, they asked if they could take Yu Xiao home. That was when the three sisters recognized each other, but Yu Xiao was used to the life in the police station and did not follow her back. Come in quickly, just in time to eat hot pot. Xieting Zhou and Yehung walked in and saw the room full of people. It seems that this room is a bit small, and there are really many people. Guo Ran, Long Liun, Mao Kun, plus Xieting Zhou and Yehung, there are quite a lot of people. It's time to wash your hands and eat. Guo Ran said with a smile. In 10 years, Guo Ran has become more serious without smiling, but now his smile is still the same as before. He is still single. It is said that he does not plan to fall in love in the future and will be alone all day long. Very dissolute. Long Liun didn't get married either, not because she had anything to do with Guo Ran, but simply because she didn't want to get married. She just felt that she could only take care of herself and couldn't become someone else's lover and mother, so she remained single until now. Okay, Xieting Zhou and Yehung went to wash their hands. They sat down and everyone gathered around to eat hot pot. Many things have happened in the past 10 years, but the friendship between everyone is still good. While eating hot pot, we lamented the state of the country. Now our place is stable, and there is chaos abroad. In the past, everyone thought that the moon abroad was rounder. Now, except for the police who go abroad to handle cases, who wants to go out? There is no business anymore. Mao Kun was joking. After all, this is true. In the past, doing business between China and foreign countries was through trade and making money. But if the people are gone, how can we still operate like this? It's already great if you can keep people in the country alive. Well, there has been a lot of commotion in country M recently. It is said that they are trying to create a god. After hearing this, Guanyin Bodhisattva, the ghost mother, doesn't want to pay attention to it. Okay. Guo Ran also lamented that after so many years, the first ghost and god was Guanyin Bodhisattva, the ghost mother, and it is still the same. So far, there has not been a second ghost and god in this world. But Xieting Zhou felt the calmness of the approaching rain. Thinking of that ghost king, where was he? Good man, he has a golden finger. Author, Zhanghu Buletin Jian. Chapter 274. Creating Gods? What does this mean? Long Liun still doesn't think that gods can be created. Just like the current ghost mother Guanyin Bodhisattva, she also became a god after experiencing everything. If it is said that gods are created by humans, it sounds too ridiculous. It's the evil god. Have you seen those so-called horror movies before? It's like that. Why do so many people sacrifice themselves and then pray for the evil god to come, but all the monsters summoned are some kind of monsters? There are no gods abroad. To bless you, I thought of creating a god. Guo Ran knows that the country is investigating this matter recently. After all, although it has nothing to do with them whether they make gods or not, but what if something bad comes out and hurts people in the country? The current stability in the country is due to the efforts of many Chinese and ghost armies. Now the border is guarded by ghost armies and ordinary armies. Otherwise, humans can deal with it, but ghosts cannot. This is also the experience of the past 10 years. There are not many people outside, but there are a lot of ghosts. Why do you think everyone didn't use thermal weapons at the beginning? Hey, the thermal weapons against ghosts are useless. When the ghosts first started to act recklessly, they killed some professional scientific people. Do you think that the top thermal weapons in the country can be fired by just pressing a button? Those require various passwords, or dynamic passwords, and it will take a long time just to get a password. Therefore, those so-called hot weapons abroad did not have a chance to play their role at all. Various countries were in chaos, ghosts and gods took over, and people died long ago. Let alone fighting with other countries, they could not take care of themselves. The country here in the country also helped out of humanitarianism in the early years, but it didn't work. The ghosts outside are different from those in the country. They are just killing people randomly. Fortunately, after the death of human beings, ghosts like them usually don't have carriers. They cannot leave the place of death for too long, so far, while there is chaos abroad, the country is very stable. This is an obvious thing in the law of ghost death, that is, the ghost of death can generally only wander in the place of death, and generally cannot leave the place of death, unless there is a special carrier to take him to other places, but this chance is very slim and basically non-existent. So, although there is chaos abroad and ghosts are everywhere, it is completely impossible to come to their country. I'm really speechless. Did the gods want to create something? Yehung also sighed. After all, as a son, he knows the suffering that his mother has suffered best, so he understands that even becoming a god does not seem to be good. At least Yehung, it seems that if there was a choice at the beginning, everyone would be willing to live in peace. So I said, evil god, then who knows what he will get in the end, but it has nothing to do with us, that thing can't come to us. Eat, eat, eat. Eat quickly. Guoran waved his hand, thinking that no matter what happened to this ghost, it was impossible for any ghost or god to appear, so everyone started eating again. Malkun was the only one here who had a wife and children. After eating, he left and went home. As for the others, Long Liun didn't go back. He drank some wine and went directly to the guest room to sleep with Yu Xiao. Yehung dragged the drunk Guoran to his room, but Xie Tingzhou was very relaxed. A peaceful day passed again. Xie Tingzhou felt that the world was quite interesting. Although it was always easy to think of the crises that he might face in the future, he felt very good now that he was living a peaceful life day by day. When you wake up on a new day, it's another day to continue working and then playing. After all, you need to take a break after work. Another 5 years have passed, and the number of ghosts abroad has become scary. However, things are still stable here in China. The ghost army investigating the creation of gods abroad has not found anything strange. And just this year, some of the remaining people in country M came to the large basement that had been prepared early. This basement is more like a huge sacrificial venue than a basement, which can accommodate tens of thousands of people. A man wearing a red long-distance running suit was standing there, speaking demagogic words. Ask our gods to favor us. Protect us. As he spoke, he cut open the palm of his hand with a knife, squatted down, and put the blood in a ravine in front of him. Others imitated his example and prayed, then cut open the palm of his hand, and then blood flows into the ravine. If someone looks down from above, they will find that the sacrificial basement is a circular sacrificial venue, with each ravine connected at the end, like a terrifying symbol. Not only here, but in more places, people gather together. There are tens of thousands of people at every sacrificial place. These are the remaining human beings abroad. They pray for the coming of the gods and do not want to be beaten again. The ghost tortured him to death. As more and more sacrificial places are visited, with the inflow of blood, red mist rises in the sky. It looks graceful, but it is like a pink sky, making people feel romantic but empty. Not only people abroad, but people in China also discovered the pink sky. Many people took out their mobile phones to take pictures, but at this time they did not notice anything weird. And when the pink sky began to gradually turn red, everyone knew that something was wrong, no matter how stupid they were. Xieting Zhou stood outside the police station. Looking at the red mist in the sky, he knew that the Ghost King was coming. And under those crazy prayers, those who were kneeling on the ground to offer blood had their blood drained out the next moment, and the whole person turned into a mummified corpse, and then quickly weathered, as if they had never existed in this world. The pink sky also began to turn completely bloody. Along with this bloody color, a silver light appeared in the bloody color. The black claws that appeared out of thin air grabbed the silver light, and then it seemed to tear the sky apart. At this moment, all the remaining humans on the earth saw the real Ghost King. The black claws were like the claws of beasts, and like human hands. At the moment when the sky was torn apart, all the eyes above were opened. The smart eyes made people feel extremely terrified. As the sky was torn apart by these two hands, people saw an indescribable huge monster. It was an indescribable ghost face mountain. The face that could not be seen by the naked eye grew on this ghost, everywhere, giving people an indescribable sense of oppression. The frightened people had hurried back home and dared not look again, while some people stood there blankly as if they were bewitched. Then, as the sky was torn apart, the Ghost King formed by countless ghost faces almost began to gradually occupy half of the sky. When moving, there were ghost faces falling from the sky, but at some point, the country was already shrouded in golden light. When the ghost face fell, a golden arm stretched out and crushed it. Many people are familiar with this finger, which is the finger of the ghost mother Guanyin Bodhisattva. Xieting Zhou looked at all this and always felt that it had finally come. As the Ghost King continued to tear the sky, a shocking scene appeared. The red mist in the sky began to condense new ghosts. They saw babies laughing in the sky, but laughing like crying. These babies were all wearing red belly bands, but each of them laughed so weirdly, with blush on their faces. They fell towards any corner of the world, making people feel terrified. The ghosts in Ren Ai Hospital also saw the scene above. The cunning boy sitting on the top floor saw the girl in the red belly band in the sky. She smiled, and the face that Ye Hong praised as a doll was instantly torn open, revealing sharp fangs. "You are finally here. Another me." She turned into a red mist and rushed towards the sky, and the next moment, people saw something even more terrifying in the sky. First, a ghost doll fell from the sky, followed by the strange and terrifying sound of Suana, but this was a wedding song, which every Chinese had heard since childhood. In such a Suana sound, ghost brides in red wedding dresses appeared from the sky and then fell, which was extremely terrifying. This is probably the place where Chinese horror makes people afraid, because these ghost brides, everyone seems to have seen them in their memories. Yu Xiao stood beside Xieting Zhou, and at this moment she finally understood the fate of his existence, and turned her head to look at Xieting Zhou. "Brother Xie, thank you." At this moment, she knew about the afterlife. After thanking him, she laughed and flew towards the sky. Guo Ran and Ye Hong didn't stop her and looked at Xieting Zhou. "Ting Zhou, what's wrong with Xiao?" Xieting Zhou had no expression on his face at this time, knowing that this was the fate of everything. "I have predicted the future. There are 4 evil ghosts under the command of the Ghost King, the ghost bride Yu Xiao, the cunning boy Tian Tian, the ghost mother Guanyin Yeqiang, and the ghost bodhisattva Hua Chong. She is willing to go this way." The people around him were speechless when they heard this, and as if to verify Xieting Zhou's words, the ghost mother Guanyin who people knelt down to worship appeared in the sky. The huge meat mountain was very familiar, and the chaotic arms and the white bones in his arms made Ye Hong burst into tears. The ghost bodhisattva had appeared on the upper floor of the police station without knowing when, sitting there with his legs crossed. The next moment, he saw countless charming ghosts appearing in the sky, including himself whom he had seen countless times in the mirror, and some ghosts around him. So that's it? He laughed, and then pointed his big finger at Xie Tingzhou. Officer Xie, we ghosts have all been calculated by you. Following Huachang's words, he turned into red smoke and flew up. Everyone knew what he was going to do. Because even if it was a fierce ghost, there was someone he wanted to protect. Xie Tingzhou took out the yellow talisman that he had prepared long ago from his arms, and this time, he gave the order himself. Ghosts, listen up. Kill. His voice was more resolute than ever before. Just when everyone in the police station was confused, the souls who had died and revived on this land, without time to say goodbye to their loved ones, reached out to touch the requiem on their chests, and their bodies turned into red smoke and soared into the sky. Red lights shot straight into the sky, like the most brilliant fireworks in the world. Many humans ran out of their homes and saw their favorite souls flying into the sky. Even if they become ghosts, they have to protect the people they love most. Xie Tingzhou also drew a spell, attached it to himself, and turned into golden light and soared into the sky. Good man, he has a golden finger. Author, Zhanghu Buletin Jian. Chapter 275. It was a war that shocked everyone who mentioned it, and it was still remembered by people long after. The sky is full of ghosts you can't imagine. They fall one after another, like the most terrifying gift this world has given to mankind. When people raise their heads, they can see how ferocious the screams of those ghosts whose looks are enough to give people nightmares. My ears are filled with their crazy sounds. But when these fierce ghosts fell, they were all blocked by a golden light in the domestic sky. The golden light enveloped all humans like a protective shield. Although the arms extending from above were still the arms of a baby, they were thick and strong, each one exudes golden light. This is the familiar Guanyin Bodhisattva. From the beginning, the statue of Guanyin Bodhisattva was covered with golden children's arms. Everyone can know where these children's arms came from. Come. These are the little ghosts covered by Guanyin Bodhisattva. After the little ghosts could not be reincarnated, they condensed into Guanyin. It is precisely because of this that many people who like to worship Guanyin always like to put them on the altar. Put out lots and lots of snacks because they think the kids will love them. The golden statue of Guanyin Bodhisattva, the ghost mother, appeared from the golden light shield. It was still so compassionate that everyone who saw it knelt on the ground and prayed sincerely. Visit Guanyin Bodhisattva, the mother of ghosts, and ask you to bless all human beings. Visit Guanyin Bodhisattva, the mother of ghosts, and ask you to bless all human beings. Visit Guanyin Bodhisattva, the mother of ghosts, and ask you to save all mankind. All human beings prayed sincerely at this time. They knelt on the ground and looked up at the sky. Some people with ghosts in their homes looked at the sky expectantly. The existence that turned into red rays of light was the person closest to them. And now, everyone could only watch all this and pray silently. Under the golden sky in China, the golden light of Guanyin Bodhisattva, the ghost mother, enveloped all the places where humans live below, and the ghosts flying up to the sky were already fighting. Yu Xiao's long black hair almost entangled all the ghost brides in place, unable to move. When the black hair flowed, it was even absorbing the mana from each other. The person facing them was Yu Xiao, the ghost bride. It was obviously the same face, but the ghost bride Yu Xiao put on exquisite makeup, with a fair face and red lips. At this time, a pair of bloody eyes looked fiercely at the existence in front of them that was exactly the same as themselves. They instantly understood all the other person's experiences. Bless the humans who have hurt you, you really make me look down on you. Ghost bride Yu Xiao said this, her eyes full of sarcasm, but she wasn't sure what she was thinking in her heart. Thinking that it was obviously the same herself in front of her, but she met Officer Xie at that time, and even ended up working at the police station. There are so many humans who care about her, but they can't help but want to tear each other into pieces. It's obviously Uziah, so why can the other party be so popular? Is she going to be buried in a dark coffin that stinks and rots? But I am willing. Uziah didn't say anything, but she already understood what the other party was thinking. After laughing, she started to kill these ghost brides with her sharp nails. Everyone or every ghost has someone they want to protect, and the same goes for Uziah. She hopes for peace in the world and that everyone can live healthy. There are still more good people in this world. All the ghost brides, Uziah, were fighting together, but Hwa-chang, the witchy ghost bodhisattva, rushed over with his witchy ghosts. Compared with the charming and fragrant appearance of the witchy ghosts falling from the sky, Hwa-chang, the naughty ghosts here in Chang, are all simple. Each of them no longer looks like when they used to seduce humans. They haven't seduced humans for more than 10 years. Every time they are busy fighting evil ghosts, it has become a battle group, so when faced with these seductive beauties, they had no reaction at all and beat each other up directly. Why are you so powerful? Hwa-chang in another world was beaten until his nose was bruised and his face was swollen. He couldn't believe that he in the same world could even beat himself up. Brother, do you know how happy it is to take elixirs? I take one elixir for you to practice for more than 10 years. I eat it like jelly beans every day. Do you think you were not unjust when you were beaten? Even when he was facing him, Hwa-chang was very arrogant. After seeing what happened to his other self, he suddenly felt that he was doing well now. Cunning Boy brought the ghosts from his Rena hospital to fight against all kinds of ghost babies. Compared with their only biting actions, the ghosts brought by Cunning Boy all had weapons, and various scalpels became the using their sharp weapons. Those stupid ghost babies were completely unable to resist. With a sweet smile on her face, she said to herself who might be in another world. I want to make a quick decision. My brother is taking me to eat Hai Dai Lao today. I can't go late. After saying that, she rushed forward. The Ghost King, who was covered in ghost faces, was now facing the Ghost Mother Guanyin Bodhisattva and Sieting Zhou. The Ghost Mother Guanyin Bodhisattva formed a huge golden statue. Sieting Zhou stood in the palm of her hand, and then looked at the Ghost King and Ghost Mother Guanyin opposite. Tisk 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 tisk, it turns out you really have the potential to become a god. If I had known about it, I would have eaten you. As the Ghost King spoke, there were all kinds of human voices everywhere, including men, women, old people, and children. These voices were intertwined together, making people shudder. However, the Ghost Mother Guanyin who was following the Ghost King did not speak. He just looked at his other self quietly. Her arms gently embraced the bones, which was the most tender. It just stared at the other self in front of it, with red eyes that seemed sad and happy. Even if I eat you, I won't become a god. Sieting Zhou was very straightforward and exposed the Ghost King's thoughts. The moment he saw the Ghost King, Sieting Zhou understood the origin of the Ghost King. It turned out that the Ghost King was originally a ghost guarding the road to reincarnation, but his long-term greed made him lose his mind and directly swallowed those ghosts who wanted to reincarnate into his stomach, and then step by step, he even swallowed the reincarnation mirror, causing people to be unable to reincarnate normally. The function of this reincarnation mirror is to illuminate the merits and demerits of this person's life, and then judge whether you should be punished or rewarded after death according to what you did in your life, and then arrange for you to reincarnate, or become a human, or become an animal or something like that. After the Ghost King swallowed the reincarnation mirror, he could naturally see through reincarnation, so he slowly became like this. Because it felt that it should not be a ghost, it should be a god. No. As long as I kill you. As long as I kill everyone in this world, I will be the god of this world. This will become a world of ghosts. I am the only master. The voice of the Ghost King came from all directions, but it made people feel pitiful. Xieting Zhou saw through everything he had experienced at a glance. Oh? You have failed once, defeated by humans, defeated by me, how does that feel? Lord Ghost King. Xieting Zhou's provocative questioning really made the various faces of the Ghost King change drastically, looking at Xieting Zhou in front of them in disbelief, and various voices rang out. Impossible! Impossible! How can you know this? How can you know? It's a pity that Xieting Zhou knows everything. He smiled and made a spell in his hand. In an instant, countless yellow spells floated everywhere in the sky, densely covering the eyes of the Ghost King and Xieting Zhou. Hurry up and obey the command. Kill. Accompanied by Xieting Zhou's order, all the yellow talismans rushed forward, then broke through the Ghost King's defense line, and then stuck to each ghost face, which immediately made the Ghost King scream wildly. The screams of each face were different. It was the souls that were devoured without reincarnation that screamed wildly at this time. Ghost Mother Guanyin. Kill him quickly. Kill him. The Ghost King can grasp too little. It has a reincarnation mirror, which can only see through reincarnation and grasp the deepest resentment of these ghosts. But the next moment, when the Ghost King said this, the Ghost Mother Guanyin beside it moved, but it attacked him. The black arm of the Ghost Mother Guanyin stretched out to the Ghost King, then penetrated the Ghost King's body, and then tore off the ghost faces from the Ghost King. The Ghost King once again wailed in pain. It was like the dawn to him. Someone was eating his flesh, but he was immobilized by the spell and could not move. Ghost Mother Guanyin. It tried to call back the Ghost Mother Guanyin's consciousness, but heard her long-lost voice. My Ahung is still alive, I can't let you hurt Ahung in this world. I am his mother, and I want to protect Ahung. She didn't know whether she was speaking to the Ghost King or to herself who had become a Buddha. After her son died, the Ghost Mother Guanyin lost her voice, leaving only the sad cry in tears, like the most terrible curse in the world. Standing on the ground, Yehung seemed to suddenly feel something. He looked up, looked at the ghosts fighting in the sky, and shouted loudly. Mom! I love you. No matter when, no matter where, I love you. His voice seemed to penetrate the clouds directly, and the Ghost Mother Guanyin in the sky also heard it. Her fleshy body was attacking the Ghost King, and the two hands in the middle were still firmly protecting the white bones, looking down at her son. Ahung, Ahung. Xieting Zhou also attacked again. This time he directly penetrated the Ghost King's body. There was no way. He remembered the Ghost King's weakness. He easily took out the reincarnation mirror, and the ghost face on the Ghost King began to slowly dissipate. At this moment, the golden light hit Xieting Zhou, and he became the controller of the order of this world, reopening the reincarnation mirror and the reincarnation road. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Good man, he has a golden finger. Author, Zhanghu Buletin. Chapter 276. Inside the Ivan Cosmetic Plastic Surgery Hospital in Shangjing City, it is summer vacation now. Many young girls who love beauty will choose to have surgery at this time so that they can have a more beautiful face when school starts. With the development of the times, people's pursuit of beauty is naturally different. They require more, and even almost want to be armed from hair to toes. Of course, love of beauty is not only the nature of girls. Now many boys will also come to do various projects. So there is a very famous doctor in the Ivan Cosmetic Plastic Surgery Hospital. The huge publicity photo of this doctor is outside the window of this hospital, so that everyone who passes by this hospital can't help but stop and look at this man. They just think, how can this man be a plastic surgeon? With his appearance, he should be a star. The man in the promotional photo is wearing a white coat and has simple hair. The 3:7 hairstyle is very challenging for people's appearance, but for him, it has a more gentle temperament, and the pair of gold-rimmed glasses give people a particularly convincing feeling. The main thing is that this face is simply perfect, as if it was carved by God. From the skin to the face shape to the glasses, it is so likable. Dr. Sieting Zhou is the most popular male doctor in Ivan Plastic Surgery Hospital. He looks like a star. His skin is the kind of cold white skin with no visible pores. His eyes are slightly upturned, which is rare in the phoenix eyes. With a high nose bridge and thin lips, he outlines a gentle and handsome doctor. Before, their hospital was on the hot search several times because Sieting Zhou, the plastic surgeon, was too handsome, which attracted many men and women to come. Naturally, they wanted to see this handsome male doctor, and of course, it was also for the pursuit of beauty. Today is the same. Summer vacation is the peak season for plastic surgery. Therefore, when the hospital held an event, the doctors were very busy. In the office where Sieting Zhou was, he was talking to a girl. "Miss Zhang, your face shape is already very perfect, and your skin is well maintained. I think your neck needs to be lifted. Our hospital has a new lifting instrument imported from the United States. This neck care will have a significant improvement on your neck wrinkles. Although the price is high, I believe that for Miss Zhang, these are not a problem. Miss Zhang's neck is very beautiful, it can be regarded as a swan neck. If it can be completely delicate, it must be extremely beautiful." His voice is gentle, making people feel like being bathed in spring breeze, and he obviously has a pair of tall phoenix eyes, but when he looks at people through his eyes, he inexplicably makes people feel his sincere gaze, which makes Miss Zhang's ears red. "Okay, I felt that there were some wrinkles on my neck before, it would be best if I could deal with it." Miss Zhang touched her neck, then picked up the mirror to look at her neck, thinking that she came here just to see a handsome guy. Could there really be fine lines on her neck? Sure enough, after seeing the fine lines on her neck in the mirror, Miss Zhang didn't care about anything else, and quickly said that she wanted to do this neck care. "No problem, I will give you a receipt here, and let the nurse take you to our department for a trial first. When you feel good after the trial, you can go for the follow-up treatment. Miss Zhang is visiting our hospital for the first time, so why not try it first?" Sieting Zhou looked at the beautiful girl in front of him, and understood that a person's pursuit of beauty seems to be endless, so he also understood that with enough money and self-management requirements, any beauty that does not harm the body is acceptable. "Yeah, okay, thank you, Drcia, but this is a little presumptuous. I want to ask, does Drcia have a girlfriend?" Miss Zhang came here for the first time, just for the handsome guy. Originally thought it would be nice to have a doctor boyfriend, but Sieting Zhou gave the answer. "Miss Zhang, I'm sorry, I already have a wife and son. I'm 35 years old this year, I got married before I started a career." Sieting Zhou seemed to have been accustomed to such questions, so when he talked about his family, he suddenly showed a gentle smile, which made Miss Zhang stunned, but then she didn't feel too disappointed, thinking it was normal. After all, it was normal for such a good-looking man to take the initiative. "Oh, so, then I'm sorry to bother Drcia, I'll go experience the instrument now. Sorry, I was too presumptuous just now." Miss Zhang was a little embarrassed, but she wouldn't be too sad. Like her looks, there are also groups of handsome guys around her, missing this, there is that. The nurse came over and took Miss Zhang to experience the new equipment, while Sieting Zhou began to record the patient's medical records. This was obviously the first time he had done this, but he had long been accustomed to it. The sound of the system came to his ears. "The Divine Doctor Son-in-Law system has been opened. Please do the first task as soon as possible. Please show your affection in front of all your colleagues once, and you will receive a special reward for the first task of the system." The Divine Doctor Son-in-Law you thought of was first a son-in-law, and then after learning medical skills, he slapped his former wife and father-in-law in the face. The actual son-in-law, you have to become a son-in-law first, and then show your affection to let everyone know, then you can become a divine doctor. This strange system is the golden finger that Xie Zhou wants to take back this time. Rather than calling it the godly doctor son-in-law system, it would be better to call it the show affection and become a godly doctor system. It's just that sometimes, the system is fine, but it's a problem no matter who it's on. After a while, the nurse came back. This nurse's surname was Zheng, and everyone usually called her Xiao Zheng. When Xiao Zheng came in, she smiled. "Dr. Xie, your charm is still so great. The patient just kept asking you when you will get married and who your wife is." But after knowing that you have a pair of twin sons, she still expressed her blessings. Xiao Zheng joked, thinking that Dr. Xie is indeed a landscape in their hospital. Everyone who comes here has to ask what kind of wife a fairy figure like Dr. Xie can have. They are all young girls, just some gossip. I have known my wife for many years, you know it? Before Xie Zhou came to work in the hospital here, he had already known his wife Liang Chejun. Xie Zhou is a golden phoenix from the mountain valley. He is good looking and good at studying. He chose to go to medical school when he was studying. He went straight to school until he was 28 years old, which was the year he married his wife Liang Chejun. He started working officially in the second year after Liang Chejun gave birth to a child, that is, he was 30 years old. A 30-year-old man ended up working for the first time in this world. It sounds unscientific, but it is the fact. When he was in school, his family was nurturing him, and he could get various scholarships and other things. Xie Zhou also met a generous and rich girlfriend. All the daily necessities were taken care of by his girlfriend. It was just like a kept little white face. Later, he got married and married into the family. The friends who invited him to the wedding were not surprised at all. After all, with the situation of Liang Chejun's family, how could she marry a poor man casually? In the past, everyone thought that Liang Chejun was attracted by Xie Zhou's beauty, just for fun. Unexpectedly, the two really got married later. But after the marriage, Liang Chejun's parents bought a new villa next to their villa and arranged for Xie Zhou to live in it. If this is not marrying into the family, what is it? Later, Xie Zhou and Liang Chejun had two sons, twins, one surnamed Xie and the other surnamed Liang. If you say that this is not a son-in-law, no one will believe it. It is said that there are rumors in the industry that the Liang family has so much money, and the two elders of the Liang family have already made a fair deal, and all the assets under their names will be handed over to the little grandson Liang Xian in the future. As for Xie Yao, who took Xie Zhou's surname, he had been with Xie Zhou and Liang Chejun before. Later, when he grew up a little, the Xie family came to make trouble, so he was sent to the Xie family's hometown for a while, which was also considered to be filial piety for Xie Zhou. So everyone knows that Xie Zhou is a son-in-law, but they just don't say it. After all, the Liang family likes this son-in-law, and Xie Zhou himself has no big problems. The Liang family made a fortune in real estate in the early years, and then invested some when the internet became popular, and then started e-commerce. It can be said that every step was accurate and flew with the wind. Now the assets of the Liang family can be said to be tens of billions easily. Xie Zhou now lives with his wife in her villa. He found this job later. He graduated from a medical school. After he was hired by Ivan, the dean of Ivan felt that Xie Zhou was a promising talent and sent him to Korea for further studies for 2 years. After he came back, he became a famous Korean doctor. In addition, Xie Zhou's face is really good looking, and no one doubts this. It was also the year when Xie Zhou came back at the age of 32 that he was on the hot search several times. Ivan Plastic Surgery Hospital has become famous since then, and there have been many customers since then, all of whom are rushing for Xie Zhou. In the past 3 years, Xie Zhou can be said to be the most powerful doctor in Ivan Plastic Surgery Hospital. Although he is not the most powerful in surgery, he is the most popular. Many of his customers are big customers, and they spend millions of dollars several times, so Xie Ting's whose salary share is also rising. Although it is impossible to buy a villa in Shangjing City as casually as my wife, it is no problem to buy a decent house. There are always more than 30 million. In the eyes of others, this Dr. Xie is good-looking, kind, and has a bright future, but in fact, only Xie Tingzhou knows what kind of scumbag the original owner is. He started to carefully calculate when he fell in love with Liang Chejun. Liang Chejun gave him food and drink. After getting married, he thought he could go to the Liang family's group and finally successfully become the heir of the Liang family. Unexpectedly, he couldn't touch the Liang family's business at all. This is why he became a doctor who sold his appearance. Thinking of his wife and father-in-law and mother-in-law, the original owner was full of hatred in his heart. How could he really like them? The appearance of this divine doctor's son-in-law system only made the original owner more crazy after being suppressed. He used the system to kill his wife and children, as well as his father-in-law and mother-in-law, and finally owned the hundreds of billions of Liang Group. Good man, he has a golden finger. Author, Zhanghu Buletin Jian. Chapter 277. Yes, everyone knows that Dr. Xie got married early. He met his wife in college and they have two super cute children. But why haven't I seen Xiaoao this year? Xiao Zhen nodded with a smile, and then mentioned a person. This person was none other than one of Xie Tingzhu's two twin sons, and the eldest of them. He took Xie Tingzhu's surname and was named Xie Yao. Before, when Xie Tingzhou and his wife were busy, they would let Xie Yao come to the plastic surgery hospital to let the nurses take him out to play, so many people in the hospital knew Xie Yao. Xiaoao went back to his hometown. My parents said that they had never been back to their hometown since Xiaoao was born. Now they are a little older, so they thought of leaving Xiaoao with my parents for a year. I have been working in Shangjing City now, and my parents can't see me, so I thought of taking Xiaoao with me. I sent Xiaoao back a few days ago. Because of this, Xie Tingzhou and his wife Liang Chejun had a big fight, and they really parted unhappily. Send him back to his hometown? Dr. Xie, I heard that your hometown seems to be a province with a high number of college entrance examination candidates. How can the education there keep up with ours in Beijing? And the education of this child is not just about going to school, there are also various courses. Doesn't Xiaoao like street dance? Can he continue to learn after going there? Xiao Zhen knew a lot about Xie Yao, but he didn't know that the original owner regarded the son as a stain in his life, so naturally he would not consider this child. He sent him back to his hometown to avoid his parents' nagging. In addition, sending this child away would further prove his feelings for his father-in-law and mother-in-law. The education in my hometown is really not very good. Xiao Zhen, I won't hide it from you. I had a quarrel with my wife because of sending the child back to my hometown. She was reluctant to let Xiao Yao go and was afraid that Xiao Yao would suffer at home. I quarreled with her fiercely at that time, but I regretted it later. I felt very uncomfortable these days when Xiao Yao went home. I kept thinking about him. Every time I called back to talk to my parents said that Xiao Yao was asleep or went out to play. I called the smartwatch we bought for Xiao Yao, but it didn't work. I was a little worried. I have been thinking about going back to my hometown with my wife to pick up the child these days, but I don't know how to start. You are also a girl. I want to ask, if your husband makes you angry, how to comfort him. Xiao Zhen is also a mother. Seeing the guilt on Dr. Xie's face, she knew that Dr. Xie must have been upset about sending the child home because of his parents, and quarreled with his wife. Later, he regretted it again, but he couldn't lose face, so he asked her, an outsider. Of course this is simple. Since Dr. Xie's wife doesn't want the child to go back to her hometown, if you, Dr. Xie, speak up, she will definitely agree to pick up the child. As for the quarrel you had with her before, you just need to sincerely admit your mistake and buy her some gifts. How can there be no quarrels between husband and wife? As long as the matter is resolved satisfactorily after the quarrel, she will not be angry with you. After hearing this, Xie Zhou seemed to have a sudden enlightenment. After Xiao Zheng went out, he called the flower shop, and then clocked in with the hospital staff and left work early. For doctors like Xie Zhou who can bring tens of millions of orders to their hospital in a month, everyone turned a blind eye. After all, they are all married people, and who doesn't have some problems at home? It was heard that Dr. Xie angered his wife and now wanted to coax his wife. There were also people in the hospital group who helped to say what gifts to give. After reading the group chat, Xie Zhou thanked everyone for their help and then went to make preparations. Although his wife was rich, Xie Zhou knew what she liked. After he went to the flower shop, he parked the car at the flower shop and bought a set of yellow gem jewelry, spending 1/6 of his savings, more than 5 million yuan. The more you are in a big city like Shangjing City, the more sports cars are everywhere. For example, some counters in large shopping malls promote jewelry. As long as you can afford it, you can buy it. These are all designer products. Although most rich people still like their own customization, this time it was an apology, and Xie Zhou bought the finished product. When he returned to the flower shop, he drove to the Liang Group. The Liang Group involves many industries, from the initial real estate development to the internet, and then to today's e-commerce, mixed with some entertainment industry investments, and other medical projects, so there are so many assets. The founder of the Liang Group is Liang Chuzhen's father, Liang Qiuxiang. When he was young, he worked hard with his wife Huang Shutong and created the later Liang Group with the first capital given by his father-in-law. He had a deep affection for his wife. At that time, the country was controlling the population, so Liang Qiuxiang and Huang Shutong only had one daughter, Liang Chuzhen. When they were pregnant, the two had already discussed the name of the child. Regardless of whether it was a boy or a girl, they would be called Liang Chuzhen, the heir to the industry they had worked hard for their whole lives. In the end, a daughter was born, and Liang Qiuxiang did not think it was bad. Instead, he thought that his daughter was caring and that he would find a partner to marry into their family in the future. Liang Chuzhen was indeed as the couple imagined. She showed superiority in IQ since she was a child. She started to receive any education early. She always surpassed boys of the same age with a tough attitude. Although she was a girl, she was better than the children of the friends the Liang family knew. Liang Qiuxiang was naturally filled with pride for such an outstanding heir, not to mention Liang Chuzhen's strong learning ability. He skipped grades from elementary school and went to study abroad in junior high school. By the time he was 21, he had graduated with a doctorate abroad. This was almost impossible in China. But it is possible abroad, because the years of education abroad have been shortened a lot. After returning to China, Liang Chuzhen joined the Liang Group at the age of 22 and started from the bottom. By the age of 25, he was already in the middle of the group. It was at that time that Liang Chuzhen met Xie Zhou. She had never been interested in men before. When she met a man who pursued her, Liang Chuzhen would get along with him in a competitive manner, and then let him retreat. At the age of 25, both the Liang family and his wife were worried that their daughter might not like boys. During a fundraising activity for the medical school, Liang Chuzhen went to the medical school to give a speech on behalf of the Liang Group. I saw Xie Zhou in the crowd. Xie Zhou is so good looking, the kind of person who shines when sitting in a crowd. Although he was the same age as Liang Chuzhen, he had no time to fall in love because he was busy studying for a PhD, so Liang Chuzhen's appearance became a matter of course. She invaded Xie Zhou's world as forcefully as a boy pursuing a girl. It was a completely different world from the previous Xie Zhou. All kinds of luxury cars were just cars for Liang Chuzhen. The clothes she gave Xie Zhou, even the most ordinary underwear, costs several thousand yuan. Xietingzhou was a little uncomfortable at first. But later I got used to my girlfriend being so generous. Liang Chejun is the kind of strong woman who is resolute and resolute. She is accustomed to taking everything into her own hands. This is true for her career, and so is her love. Fortunately, he met a gentle person like Xietingzhou. Liang Chejun has always occupied the strong position in the relationship between the two. Later, the two got married like this. Xietingzhou had never made any request, but when it came time to get married, he made a request. The Liang family must have asked for a marriage. The children born to Liang Chejun must be named Liang and inherit the property of the Liang family. However, Xietingzhou asked that when Liang Chejun had other children, they would be named Xie. His request was not high, just one for each child. Liang Chejun was not the kind of person who insisted on embarrassing her boyfriend. He made sure that his boyfriend agreed to marry him into the family, and after finally discussing it with his parents, he agreed to give Xietingzhou a child named Xie. The two fell in love at the age of 25 and got married at the age of 28. At the age of 29, Liang Chejun gave birth to twin boys. The brother's surname was Xie, and his father Xietingzhou's surname was Xieyao. The younger brother takes the surname of his mother, Liang Chejun, and is named Liang Xian from Xietingzhou's father-in-law and mother-in-law. It can be regarded as the type of two-partner marriage that some netizens talk about. Xietingzhou's car parked downstairs of the Liang Group. Looking at the towering Liang Group building in Nyoda, he admitted in his heart why the original owner was dazzled by such money. He likes Liang Chejun because he is beautiful, highly educated, and rich, but he also has many shortcomings. Liang Chejun is strong in workability and possessive. He looks like a man in every aspect, but does not have the softness of a girl, so the original owner does not have any happiness in being a man. Feel. He also likes his father-in-law and mother-in-law. They have indeed helped him a lot with his connections, but the more he does this, the more he hates them. Liang Chejun is just a girl. Why don't his father-in-law and mother-in-law let him enter the Liang Group to help his wife? It is simply hateful that such a large group can be seen and cannot be touched. There are also two sons, and the original owner doesn't like them either. Although the eldest son Xieyao has his own surname, he likes to listen to his wife every time there is trouble, as if he is nothing. The youngest son Liang Xian seems to be the biological son of his father-in-law and mother-in-law. He has to complain to his father-in-law and mother-in-law every time, and even inherits all the property of the Liang family in the future. Therefore, the original owner hated his two biological sons, which was a symbol of his incompetence. At this moment, Xietingzhou, who was standing downstairs, was calm. He called Liang Chejun upstairs. "Honey, I'm downstairs now, are you done?" He spoke pitifully. Liang Chejun was originally angry because of the child, but now he softened a little. "I'm done, I'll be down soon." After all, she couldn't be angry with Xietingzhou, but she just felt uneasy thinking about her eldest son going to live with her parents-in-law for a year. Even so, Liang Chejun still went downstairs. Xietingzhou was standing next to the car. Such a handsome guy naturally attracted the attention of many people. Many people in the Liang Group knew Xietingzhou's identity. Someone secretly looked through the glass window and saw the current leader of the Liang Group, their immediate boss Liang Chejun, walking towards the man. I saw the handsome man taking his immediate boss Liang Chejun to the trunk of the car, and then the trunk was opened. I didn't know what was inside. The man even came over and kissed Liang Chejun on the face, which made people even more curious. Good man, he has a golden finger. Author, Zhanghu Buletin Jian. Chapter 278. Behind Xietingzhou's car, the open trunk was full of red roses, as well as the white roses that Xietingzhou sent to Liang Chejun, which surprised Liang Chejun. To be honest, after he fell in love with Xietingzhou, Liang Chajun, the heir of the Liang family, pursued the same method as the young master pursues many young girls. He sent flowers, gifts, cars, and houses. However, there was little interaction between the two of them. When delivering things to Liang Chajun, most of the time Liang Chajun delivers them to Xieting Zhou. Even if Liang Chajun sometimes forgets about anniversaries, Valentine's Day, or birthdays, his secretary will notify him. Even for Xieting Zhou's parents' birthday after marriage, Liang Chajun will ask his secretary to send back birthday gifts in advance, which can be said to be very appropriate. "Why did you suddenly think of giving me flowers today?" Liang Chajun held his favorite white rose in his arms. The white rose was clean and happy inside. The sight of red roses in the rear compartment actually made Liang Chajun's previously angry mood calmer. "I want to apologize to you about what happened to Xiao Yao before. I shouldn't have quarreled with you like that." Xieting Zhou's voice was gentle. He leaned over, stretched out his hand to stroke his wife's hair, and tucked the soft hair away from her ear. "Back. So you gave me flowers?" Liang Chajun asked carefully. It was rare to see her husband take the initiative to give her something. In addition, her husband bowed his head because of his son. Liang Chajun continued to tease her gentle husband. "In addition to apologizing, it's because I miss you." Xieting Zhou looked at his wife in front of him. Liang Chajun had short hair and had been working in the company for a long time. She was wearing a black work suit and wearing high heels of the same color, which made people feel very oppressive. Such a woman, for many men, it is said that there is a sense of distance and that such women cannot be conquered. But Xieting Zhou knew that Liang Chajun didn't need to be conquered, she just needed to feel loved. Facing her husband's handsome face and such gentle words, Liang Chajun really smiled. She moved closer to Xieting Zhou and left a kiss on Xieting Zhou's face without caring about other people's eyes. "Then I will reluctantly forgive you." After being married for 7 years, no matter how sweet they were, they became accustomed to each other. Liang Chajun smiled, holding the flower in one hand, and Xieting Zhou held the other hand in his. "Then do I have the honor to invite dear Miss Liang to have dinner?" Xieting Zhou also laughed, and his tall phoenix eyes were a little more tender. Liang Chajun suddenly felt a little stunned when he was stared at like this, and felt that he didn't know why his mood was a little subtle. Yet it seemed that her husband had never looked at her like this since they got married. After that, Xieting Zhou's car stopped at the gate of Liang Group. Even if he took so many flowers home, he would have to let the nanny take care of them. It would be better to distribute them to the employees of Liang Group. After Liang Chajun told the security team about the situation, he drove his Maybach and took Xieting Zhou to dinner. After the two men left, the off-duty employees of Liang Group were stopped by the security guards and presented with a rose as soon as they walked to the door. Mr. Liang's husband gave Mr. Liang flowers. Mr. Liang said that everyone worked hard, so everyone would be in a good mood if he gave one. The employee who received the flowers was stunned for a moment, and then laughed. No one dislikes flowers, and the red roses handed over were as bright as velvet, and they looked really beautiful. One of them was so big that it was full of flowers. The meter-long flower branches, half-opened roses are as big as an adult's fist, and they will be even more beautiful when they bloom. Then I wish Mr. Liang happiness. Every employee who received the flowers was in a good mood. After all, these roses are top-grade imported roses, costing 60 or 70 yuan each. Mr. Liang gave them to them for free. The female employees felt very good after receiving them themselves, and the male employees could take them with them. Going home to my wife is the best of both worlds. There are rumors in the market that Mr. Liang and her husband don't seem to have a good relationship. It seems that this rumor is still somewhat watery. If they really don't have a good relationship, how can they still give such red roses after 7 years of marriage? Have you ever heard of the 7-year itch? Liang Chajun and Xieting Zhou, who were subject to various speculations by the employees, drove to the Western restaurant Xieting Zhou had made an appointment with before, a high-altitude viewing restaurant in Beijing. The two of them were led by the waiter to the best viewing spot. This place is a huge floor-to-ceiling window. It has gradually become dark outside the window. You can see the lights and neon lights of the entire Beijing city. The bright and prosperous scene seems to make you feel like you have the whole world under your feet. Western food was served quickly. Liang Chejun studied abroad before, so he liked Western food very much. The original owner hated Western food, but Xie Zhou liked it very much. Soon the elegant violin sounds sounded in my ears, and along with the night view outside the window, everything was so romantic. If there were a couple here, they would have been talking to each other, but unfortunately, they were a married couple. A couple who have been married for 7 years. Chu Jun, I have thought about the matter of sending Xiao Yao back to my hometown before. These days, I think it was my fault. I still don't want Xiao Yao to stay there. My parents thought that I had married into the Liang family, and they felt that I was wrong. But I can't send Xiao Yao back home as my substitute, and the education level there is indeed not as good as here. Chu Jun, after you finish your work these days, we will go to your hometown to pick up Xiao Yao. Will you come back soon? Xie Zhou talked about the family affairs gently. After getting married, the relationship between men and women changed from simple boyfriend and girlfriend to husband and wife, and things became more complicated. Recently, neither Xie Zhou nor Liang Chejun returned to their villa. Xie Zhou was angry and quarreling with his wife, so he had been living in the small house he bought near Iwane Plastic Surgery Hospital. Liang Chejun quarreled with Xie Zhou because of his son, and his younger son Liang Xian also quarreled with the couple because his eldest brother was sent away, and now he went to live with Liang Chejun's parents. It has been almost a month since the two of them were in a cold war. Today, Xie Zhou took the initiative to send flowers, which can be regarded as breaking the ice. I will have time tomorrow. Liang Chejun has always been such a resolute person. Thinking that she has not seen her eldest son for almost a month. She has never seen her son for such a long time since she was a child. Liang Chejun wants to fly all night. Go over and bring your son back. Okay, just tomorrow. I will ask the dean for leave immediately. Tomorrow we will go directly back to our hometown to bring Xiao Yao back. Xie Zhou understood the mentality of a mother who was reluctant to let go of her 6-year-old child, and nodded immediately. Liang Chejun directly picked up the phone and sent 2 messages to his secretary, asking the secretary to determine the air tickets for her and Xie Zhou to Xie Zhou's hometown tomorrow. I asked the secretary to book a flight. We'll leave tomorrow. Xie Zhou didn't object and asked his other son. Xian has been with my parents for almost a month, right? Is he still angry with me? He hasn't contacted me, and he doesn't answer my phone calls. This mobile phone is a watch phone worn on the wrist. Liang Chejun bought the same model for his 2 sons. In the past month, both sons could not get through the phone, and the family atmosphere was very tense. Well, it's not that Xian is angry with you, he just doesn't understand why he sent his brother away. Moreover, he tried to contact Xiao Yao in the past 2 days but couldn't. He always cried and asked me whether his brother didn't want him anymore. By the way, why can't I get through to Xiao Yao's phone? When I called my mother, she always said that Xiao Yao went out to play or was asleep and didn't even talk to him. Speaking of this, Liang Chejun was also irritable. She had a quarrel with her husband, but her son's phone still couldn't be reached, and the younger son kept making noises about whether his brother didn't want him anymore. Liang Chejun was also irritable. Recently, she has been doubting whether what she did before was right. She was right to ask Xie Zhou to marry her into the family, but after the marriage, she gave birth to twins, so she couldn't help but agreed and gave him 2 surnames. Xie Yao and Liang Xian are both her sons. It is the same here in Liang Chejun, but Liang Chejun can clearly feel that in the eyes of his parents, Liang Xian is definitely more important than Xie Yao. Now that the eldest son has been out of town for almost a month, his parents don't say they are worried, they just take care of Xian, which makes Liang Chejun, a mother, feel uncomfortable. I know it's my fault. When I go back to pick up Xiao Yao this time, I will first apologize to Xiao Yao, and then apologize to Ziyi Yan. The two brothers should not have been separated. We will pick up the child tomorrow, and the day after tomorrow. What do you think about flying back directly? Xie Tingzhou apologized obediently. In the eyes of everyone, this face is still handsome even at the age of 35. What can Liang Chejun do? You can only choose to forgive. Before meeting Xie Tingzhou, Liang Chejun always viewed men as competitors. His goal in life was to be stronger than more heirs and to stand in the front row as a woman. It wasn't until she met Xie Tingzhou that she realized that she could also be attracted by a man. It turned out that she was also a complete control of appearance. Fortunately, she met such a husband. Liang Chejun was very satisfied with the looks of Xie Yao and Liang Xian. Yes, they are all very handsome. Yeah, okay. The couple talked about the matter in a few words. Some things are just like this. You have to explain it clearly before you can get over it. If you leave it there all the time, it will be a thorn in a person's heart. No matter what, can't pull it out. After eating, Xie Tingzhou held Liang Chejun in his arms and looked at the night view outside the window. He suddenly took several selfies, which made Liang Chejun a little confused. After all, his husband had always been reserved and never liked taking pictures. Can I send it to the work group? Today they came up with an idea to ask me to apologize to you. Liang Chejun was stunned for a moment, but then he laughed. Her husband was good looking, and he was in a place like a plastic surgery hospital, where there were so many beauties. Before, the circle of friends was not open, and he never posted photos of the two loving each other. Now he is posting this in the group. It actually made Liang Chejun happier than receiving flowers. After all, posting such photos can also represent the good relationship between the two of them and stop some people who shouldn't think too much. Good. After Liang Chejun agreed, Xie Tingzhou posted the photo of the two to the group and liked everyone. Dr. Xie, thank you for your advice. My wife has forgiven me and will treat you to dinner another day when she is free. As soon as these words came out, the group immediately became excited. They all expressed their best wishes for Dr. Xie and his wife to be happy and beautiful, and some made fun of Dr. Xie's sudden display of affection. Xie Tingzhou hugged Liang Chejun and watched the news in the group together. He turned his head and kissed his wife on the face. Taking a photo together is not called showing affection, this is called showing affection. Seeing her husband with a smile in the corner of his eyes through the reflection of the glass, Liang Chejun felt that the anger of the past month had completely disappeared. He turned around and hugged Xie Tingzhou, not caring about the eyes of the people around him, and kissed him. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Good man, he has a golden finger. Author, Zhanghu Buletin Jian. Chapter 279. On the way home, Liang Chejun was still driving. Xie Tingzhou was sitting in the passenger seat, but he heard the sound of the system. Ding dong, the miracle doctor son-in-law system congratulates the host for completing the first task and successfully showing affection in front of colleagues. The reward for completing the first task is a high-tech plastic surgery mirror and a mysterious gift wife-loving pill. Xie Tingzhou was very comfortable with this weird system, where he claimed to be a miracle doctor but still had a son-in-law job. He didn't know what kind of surprises the system would give him. Along the way, Liang Chejun didn't ask her husband where he was going back, and drove directly to the couple's villa. After getting out of the car, he didn't know what to say. Xie Tingzhou took Liang Chejun's hand, and the two entered the villa. Butler Wang inside immediately started laughing. Sir and Madam are back, do you need to prepare food? When the two had a big quarrel before, Butler Wang was also there. As an outsider, he didn't know how to persuade them. Now that he saw the couple reconcile, he was naturally happy for them. No, after eating, we went upstairs to rest. Xieting Zhou refused and took Liang Chejun upstairs to rest, which made Butler Wang smile even more happily. Especially after seeing the flowers in Liang Chejun's hand, he knew that the couple must have reconciled. Also, Mr. Xie and Miss Liang have been married for 7 years. How can this couple have an overnight feud? Even if this quarrel and Cold War last for a long time, it will pass. When Liang Chejun was a little unresponsive and was pulled into the bedroom of the two of them, and then went to take a bath together, Liang Chejun suddenly remembered that the two of them had really reconciled. Everything after that seemed to fall into place. The top floor was their exclusive area, and no one came up. The two of them were rarely gentle. The next morning, Xieting Zhou still called Liang Chejun to get up, and the two of them were hurriedly sent to the house by the housekeeper. At the airport, I caught the plane. When we got on the plane, it was still 4 hours away from Hiang City where Xieting Zhou's home was located. In the first-class cabin, Xieting Zhou covered Liang Chejun with a blanket. You take a rest for a while. I'll call you when you get off the plane. Liang Chejun was rarely quiet. He didn't say anything. When he opened his mouth, he felt his throat was a little hoarse and couldn't lift his arms. He just felt a little embarrassed. He turned his head and stopped looking at Xieting Zhou, and soon fell asleep. She didn't even dare to think about everything that happened yesterday. She couldn't figure it out. It was just a good thing at first, but how did it end up like this? Liang Chejun and Xieting Zhou were both very restrained in the past, but what happened last night really made her lose her temper. In this regard, Xieting Zhou said that it was not his problem, but the system's fault. After he got home last night, he was a little curious about what the thing called love wife pill was. But after opening the description, he found that this thing was the kind that increases the relationship between husband and wife, so he took one out of curiosity, and the final result was different. It goes without saying. He was also really curious. He had never eaten this before, but he didn't expect to make Liang Chejun shy in the end. At this time, he was lying next door to Liang Chejun, looking at Liang Chejun's cheek tilted to the side, and then looking at his neck. There were still traces of last night, not to mention Liang Chejun. Xieting Zhou also had traces on his neck. It was summer again, even if I was wearing a shirt to try to cover it up, but it was somewhat unable to cover it up. You can imagine what it would be like to return home in such a situation. The 4-hour flight passed by in a flash, and Xieting Zhou woke up Liang Chejun. The two of them came in a hurry this time. After getting off the car arranged by the secretary was already waiting, and they were all responsible for their subsequent activities. Liang Chejun still wore a white shirt with black suit pants underneath. She used to always unbutton 2 buttons. Today, she buttoned the white shirt neatly. Although she and Xieting Zhou were standing together, they were both handsome men and beautiful women. But the sense of abstinence in his body could not be concealed. The two got in the car, and Liang Chejun felt that his throat felt better. Why don't you call your parents? What if they are not at home? As a daughter-in-law, Liang Chejun actually never got along with Xieting Zhou's parents. However, after they got married, Liang Chejun bought a 280 square meter large, finely decorated house in Hiang City for about 8 million. Although Xieting Zhou's parents were very unhappy, but accepted it. In the next 7 years, Xieting Zhou would not go home during the Chinese New Year. Liang Chejun was too busy with work and would not accompany her husband back to his hometown. He only came back to visit when Xieting Zhou occasionally went on a business trip to Hiang City. Xieting Zhou was a daughter-in-law. Outsiders didn't know this, but the Xie family's parents knew about it. Therefore, the Xie family's parents didn't like this daughter-in-law very much, but they had to bow their heads because of Liang Chajun's power. No need to fight, it's summer vacation, my parents have already retired, and with the money you give every month, they don't have to go to work, so why give advance notice? Xie Zhou said matter-of-factly, and then revealed that his wife had been giving money to his parents behind his back. You know, Liang Chajun was suddenly surprised and looked at Xie Zhou beside him. He didn't expect that Xie Zhou knew about the money she gave his parents. She didn't tell him before because she was afraid that Xie Zhou would feel uncomfortable. This incident happened 1 year after they got married. Liang Chajun received a call from Xie Zhou's mother, Su 80. Su 80 cried on the phone and complained that she had finally raised an excellent son, but she couldn't go home all year round. She said that she was married, just like being sold to someone else. Anyway, it was just all kinds of crying. What he said was that it would be fine if Xie Zhou didn't go home, and he wouldn't take money from home. Now they won't make money when they are old, and their son can't be filial to him. What will happen in the future? Live. So 6 years ago, Liang Chajun would send money to Xie Zhou's parents every month, 5,000 yuan each for the two of them, which was a bit of filial piety from her daughter-in-law. The money was nothing to Liang Chajun, as long as it could satisfy her father-in-law and mother-in-law. It's good to be happy and to keep my husband from being upset. I went to work after Xiao Yao and Xian were 1 year old. After I went to work, I also sent them 10,000 yuan a month, but they didn't tell me that you sent them money. I saw the transfer on your phone. Record, Chu Jun, we are husband and wife, if something happens to my parents, you don't have to worry about me, just do whatever you want. In fact, Xie Zhou's parents have been causing trouble a lot in the past few years. Not only are they given 10,000 yuan a month, but the couple are always hospitalized for various reasons throughout the year. Every time they are hospitalized, they have to ask Xie Zhou for money. 100,000 yuan, asking Liang Chajun for 200,000 yuan, it can be said that he really regarded the two of them as a cash cow. I just don't want you to be upset about this matter. After all, the money is nothing to me. Her husband was married to her, and he would not be able to be filial to his parents in his hometown in the future. Liang Chajun felt that he could just give it to himself, and it didn't matter. I know, but you can tell me these things. I always want to know what my parents did and whether they deceived us. My parents and us are here, which makes Liang Chajun feel very good. At least her husband treats us as a family. After listening, he smiled and nodded. Yeah, I promise, if something happens to my parents next time, I will definitely tell you. After receiving such a guarantee, Xie Zhou was satisfied. The two of them sat in the back, holding hands together, just like when they first fell in love, which made Liang Chajun a little embarrassed and a little happy at the same time. Outsiders talk about the 7-year itch, but unexpectedly, after 7 years of marriage, my relationship with my husband has gotten better and better. The car soon arrived at the large flat-floor community that Liang Chajun bought for the Xie family. The name of this community is Fugi Yuan. Although it is rustic, the design is very good, and the property facilities are also the best in all aspects. Liang Chajun and Xie Zhou had been here before, and they had access cards, so they went in directly. Considering that Xie Zhou's parents were old at the time, Liang Chajun bought a large flat on the first floor. There was also a large garden outside where he could grow vegetables, flowers, etc. There was also a large park outside. It is very convenient for children to play. It's just that today, it seems they came at the wrong time. The two walked towards the Xie family's parents' house, and soon arrived at the greenery. As they walked inside, they heard the sound of children quarreling. Your mother doesn't want you anymore. You will be my family's spoiler from now on. Look at this watch, it's all mine, and all your toys are mine too. A child was arrogantly provoking, with a strange voice. Liang Chejun couldn't recognize who it was, but Xie Ting's face was already ugly, and he knew who this person was. Your mother doesn't want you anymore. My mother will come to pick me up soon. And my father? My mother is the most powerful person in the world. My father is the most beautiful person in the world. If they know that you bully, I will definitely beat you. Then the familiar voices of the two people rang out. The words were spoken by none other than Xie Ting's son, Xie Yao. Xie Yao is only 6 years old this year, and even though he is very articulate, children are actually taught to be careless. Compared with his younger brother Liang Xian, Xie Yao is a bit silly. He was sent here for almost a month, and he still didn't know whether he could go back. He thought he was just coming to his grandparents' house to spend the summer vacation. His watch and toys were robbed before, and he cried and made trouble and was beaten by his grandparents, but Xie Yao, but I don't feel like I've been abandoned. He is a child who grew up in love and never felt that he would be abandoned by his mother. Humph. Grandpa and Grandma have said it. From now on, you will stay at my house and live your life. Your parents will no longer want you. Then you will be my puppy in my house. You can do whatever I want with you. Otherwise, I will let you Grandma and Grandpa beat you, lock you up and starve you to death like they did a few days ago. The child's words were extremely vicious. Liang Chejun also looked ugly after hearing such words. Xie Tingzhou directly pulled Liang Chejun out, and then saw the two children inside through the door. A chubby 8-year-old child was Xie Qingping, the son of Xie Tingzhou's brother. The other one, who is shorter and thinner, is Xie Yao, who has been sent here for less than a month. He suddenly lost a lot of weight, and there were even scars on his face, which made Liang Chejun go crazy. Xie Tingzhou also looked ugly, opened the door, rushed over, and slapped Xie Qingping on the face. Good man, he has a golden finger. Author, Zhanghu Buletin Jian. Chapter 280. Xie Qingping is 8 years old this year, 2 years older than Xie Yao. It may be because he eats so well that he is fat and strong. He was originally slow to react, but an adult came and slapped the 8-year-old child. Before he could react, he was slapped in the face. The severe pain stunned Xie Qingping, and then he realized the burning pain on his cheeks and burst into tears. Ah! Ah! Ouch! Ouch! He covered his face and cried, not recognizing the good-looking man in front of him. He cried and then realized how to call someone. Grandpa and Grandma. Grandpa and Grandma. Someone hit me. Woohoo, someone hit me. He was crying, but Xie Yao's eyes were shining after seeing the two people who came in. He is 6 years old this year. He was raised by Xie Tingzhou and Liang Chejun. He is white and tender, like a little prince, and his hair is I also wash it every 2 days. I like to be very clean at home. Now the clothes all over my body are wrinkled. I don't know how many days I haven't washed them. The hair on my head is also stuck together in strands. In addition, it is a little small. The fleshy face was completely gone now, and the pointy little chin was painful to look at. Mom and Dad. Children have an instinctive reaction when they see their parents. Xie Yao's eyes were shining and he rushed towards the side. He threw himself on Xie Tingzhou's lap and was picked up by Xie Tingzhou's arms. Xiao Yao, Dad is here. Xie Tingzhou looked at the appearance of this little guy and thought that the originally lively and cheerful child in his memory had turned into a gloomy and low self-esteem person under the daily torture, and was eventually killed. Xie Tingzhou only felt even more pitiful for this child in his heart. Xiao Yao, Mom is here too, why are you like this? Does it hurt? Tell Mom, does it hurt? Liang Chejun's eyes turned red. When she was raising her two sons, even if they were stumbling, it still made her feel distressed as a mother. Now that she directly saw the scars on her son's face, Liang Chejun felt even more uncomfortable. She stretched out her hand to hold her son's cheek, but was afraid of touching the wound, and her voice was trembling at this time. Mom, I don't feel pain. I don't feel pain anymore when I see you and Dad. My brother bullied me and said that Mom and Dad don't want me anymore. I don't believe it. Mom and Dad came to see me. Are they going home? I miss my brother. Where is my brother? Why didn't he come? Xiaoyao didn't feel uncomfortable at all because he was bullied. At this time, Xiaoyao was immersed in the joy of his parents taking him home. After finding out that no younger brother came, he was a little anxious. He didn't know why his father didn't take his younger brother with him. When I promised my father to go back to my grandparents' house before, I said that I would be obedient, fulfill my filial piety for my father, and stay at my grandparents' house for a period of time. Therefore, even if my toys and snacks were robbed, I would be imprisoned. He couldn't eat in the room, but Xiaoyao was very well behaved. He knew that his parents would definitely come to take him home. He had to obediently fulfill his filial piety for his father and listen to his grandparents' words. My younger brother is at your grandparents' house. He was angry because his father sent you to his grandparents' house. He doesn't want to talk to his father anymore. Your parents came here this time just to pick you up, Xiaoyao, and go home. When you get home and see your brother, you tell your brother and ask him to forgive his father, okay? Seeing that although the child was injured, his energy and spirit had not changed, and he was still as optimistic and cheerful as before, Xie Tingzhou felt relieved, so he hugged the child and touched Xiaoyao's hair. Well, don't worry, Dad, I will definitely tell my brother. I am here to be filial to my grandparents, not because my father doesn't want me. When I get home, as long as my father buys a toy for my brother, he will be happy if I give it to him. Is it okay if he wanted the small car he drove at home last time? The so-called car that Xiaoyao mentioned is a smaller version of a super sports car, specially made for children to play with, and it is also valuable. Liang Chejun wanted to buy one for each of his two sons, but Xie Tingzhou thought why the children would want this. It's wasteful and vain, so I don't agree, but the two boys really like it. Of course you can. You can also buy one for Xiaoyao. Then you and your brother can drive it and play with it. Okay, Xie Tingzhou agreed, causing Liang Chejun on the side to speak quickly. Buy them for you and your brother. Xiaoyao, what's the matter with the injury on your face? Who bullied you? As a mother, she is naturally worried about her son. She doesn't know who caused the injuries on her son, and she feels very distressed. At this moment, Suadi, who was looking at her cell phone in the room, heard her eldest grandson crying outside, and rushed out. She was about to curse, but she saw her son and daughter-in-law, whom she had not seen for several years. He was stunned for a moment, and then he walked over. What's going on? Why is Qingping crying? Tingzhou, why are you and your wife back now? You didn't even call me or your dad. Mother Xia asked, but she felt very distressed when she saw her eldest grandson. When she found that her eldest grandson's face was red and swollen, she was immediately surprised. Oh my God, Qingping, what's wrong with you? Why is your face so swollen? Some unscrupulous person hit you. Holding her precious grandson in her arms, Xia's mother felt extremely distressed. Xia Qingping cried and pointed to the man she had never seen before. He hit me, Grandma, hit him quickly, he hit me. At this moment, Xie Tingzhou handed Xiaoyao in his arms to Liang Chejundeo beside him. Mom, it was me who beat Xie Qingping with no conscience. How about it? Do you want to beat him back? As soon as her son said this, Xia's mother also knew how to read people's eyes, and she suddenly felt embarrassed, but she still said it. Tingzhou, it's not what my mother said about you. You are already in your 30s now. How can you have trouble with your child? This is your eldest brother's son. As an uncle, you can forget about it if you haven't met him in these years. What does it look like to hit your children when you meet them now? Mother Xie complained, waiting for her son to bow his head. She felt that her son had always been so obedient, so he would definitely bow his head in this matter. Mom, I didn't have to beat him, he was the one who bullied others first. I just heard Xie Qingping tell my Xiao Yao that his parents don't want him anymore, saying that Xiao Yao is a drag at home and will live in Xie Qingping's house from now on. As Xie Qingping's puppy, I really want to know this. You told Dad that you missed me after not seeing me for so many years, so you asked me to send Xiao Yao back to you for a kiss. Is this the result? And what about Xiao Yao lives here? This is the house my wife bought for you. Why did it become Xie Qingping's house? The house that Liang Chejun bought was not put in the name of Xie's parents, but directly in the name of Xie Tingzhou. This was regarded as a sign of filial piety from Xie Tingzhou himself to his parents. After all, he would not be able to come back during the holidays after marrying into his wife, so the house is currently occupied by Xie's parents, but the ownership of this house belongs to Xie Tingzhou. Children are talking nonsense, don't listen. Qingping is just here to play with us for a few days. Why are you serious about your child? And Qingping just didn't see you and Chu Jun, so he thought Xiao Yao has no parents. Don't listen. Children are generally knowledgeable. Mother Xie's face looked a little ugly, but she still wanted to make it a big deal out of a trivial matter. But Xie Tingzhou didn't give him this chance. He turned to look at his son who was being held by his wife. Xiao Yao, tell Dad who gave you the wound on your face? And what did Xie Qingping mean when he said just now that he would lock you in a small dark room without being allowed to eat? Xie Yao hugged his mother's neck at this time and stayed in her arms obediently. Watching his father beat the people who bullied him, and even resisted his grandma for himself, he suddenly felt that his father was the big hero in his world. It's Grandpa. After I came here, my father just left. This Xie Qingping wanted to rob my mother to buy me and my brother's watch. My brother and I had agreed to contact each other every day, but Xie Qingping insisted on this watch and grabbed it from my hand. I didn't give it, so we fought together, and Grandpa pushed me and took the watch away. The injury on his face was from hitting the chair. The expressive ability of a 6-year-old child is still very clear, not to mention children like Xie Yao who have received early childhood education, so they are very articulate and speak clearly. This kid is talking nonsense. Qingping has never seen such a good thing. He just brought it for fun, so what's wrong with it? It's normal for children to fight. Your father really didn't do anything to the child. So, this is your father and I's favorite. How can we be willing to touch it? Mother Xie's face was ugly. She wanted to give Xie Yao a hard look, but after seeing her son and daughter-in-law at the scene, she didn't dare to say anything. She could only curse Xie Yao in her heart for being ignorant and daring to say anything. Come out. What about the dark room? Seeing that his son had lost a lot of weight, Xie Tingzhou felt extremely distressed. It's because my grandparents wanted to give all my toys to Xie Qingping. If I didn't give them, they locked me in the room and didn't let me come out. They didn't let me eat. They told me when I knew I was wrong before I could eat. They also asked me to follow. Xie Qingping apologized and said that this is not my home, it belongs to Xie Qingping, and I want to listen to Xie Qingping and give all my things to Xie Qingping. Xie Yao didn't know about the feud between the adults. He didn't notice that Liang Chejun was full of anger at this time. It was simply the prelude before the volcano erupted. After that, he added, Dad, Grandpa said that you married Mom and said that I had brought shame on the Xie family and did not deserve the surname Xie. Is this right? Regarding the issue of the surnames of the two children, when they were very young, Xie Tingzhou and Liang Chejun discussed a set of explanations specifically to deal with the children asking this question. After all, the two children are twins. Although they look similar, they have different personalities. You can see the difference, so the two people agreed that their parents loved each other, so they had two surnames. As a result, now, Xie Yao was a little curious when he heard his grandfather say that his father married his mother and he was not worthy of the surname Xie. If his surname is not Xie, does he have the same surname as his younger brother, Liang? Liang Yao also sounds good.